Thank you very much. I will not talk for a long time. I will leave all the time to Frank. He's much more interesting than me. I just want to say that most of our customers are large and global organizations like SAP and Workday that made a presentation yesterday. And Frank will present today how they build the system at SAP, leveraging Acrolinx and the Ixiosoft CCMS. And he will explain how they put that in place, and he will give you some figures, numbers, metrics, and things like that. But just before that, I would like to take just 1 minute to congratulate the Acrolinx teams for this event. Congratulations. It's our first time at that event, and we are very proud to be a sponsor, and I can tell you that we'll be back next year. So thank you very much again, and Frank, all the time is for you now.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks very much. Just wanted to get started. Ask how many people are here from outside of North America? Couple here? Okay. How many people are here from outside of California? So quite a bit more. How many people are local here? All right, just a few. So we've got a lot of people from North America and the U.S. That helps me out a little bit because how many people are familiar, have heard of SAP? Anybody? Okay, so this is good. Thank you. It's in America in general. SAP doesn't have that name recognition that it does in Europe and other parts of the world.
SAP.
Exactly. When people see that, they think SAP, SAP. As a matter of fact, if you're local here, this is probably what you think of when you hear SAP. And when I tell people that I work for SAP, they go, "Oh, you must see a lot of Sharks games." And I say, "No, actually, we just have the naming rights. It's kind of like AT&T Park. There's no SAP employees at SAP Center." So I just wanted to kind of put this into context. What is SAP? What do we do? For those of you who are not totally familiar with the company, aside from the name. So I would like to have an introduction to SAP from my close personal friend, Clive Owen.
A few problems, actually.
We're overproducing,
Overcrowding,
and overheating. We've got aging roadways,
aging power grids, aging everything.
Kind of bumming me out, Clive Owen.
No, wait, gets worse. We also have the age-old problem of bias in the workplace.
Really? Never heard of it.
Seriously, it's all over the
I've
news.
heard of it.
The question is, who's going to fix all of this? An actor? Probably not. But you know who can solve it? Business.
That's right. The best-run businesses can make the world run better because solving big problems is what business does best.
And doing good is just good business. Sorry.
So let's grow more food with less water and make healthcare more healthy.
It's okay, I'll play the doctor. What have we got here?
Let's take on the wage gap, the opportunity gap.
The achievement gap.
Together, we can tackle every elephant in the room and save the rhino while we're at it.
Because whatever the problem, business can help. And I know who can help them do it.
All right, thank you, Clive. Just to give you a background on SAP, we do business software that help businesses run their business. Here are the stats. A lot of figures here. We have 88,500 employees globally with about 4,700 in the Silicon Valley. So it's a pretty big footprint. The one that always stands out to me here is that over 3/4 of the world's transaction revenue touches an SAP system. So you look at all this stuff, it's a big company. And we produce a lot of content. And as Clive said at the beginning, which you didn't actually hear, he said, we've got a problem. And at SAP, we actually have several of them that we're trying to deal with these systems to get this information to our customers. We've got a lot of documentation that's created for different uses, for different products by different teams. We've acquired companies over the years that have used different systems and content types. You got this massive scale, and we translate for a global audience. So I think the actual figure that I got from our translation group was 40 plus languages all over the globe. So and we want to maintain a consistent style and tone throughout all this stuff. You know, we want to try and say, hey, we are one SAP. We want to give our customers something they can look at and go, this all came from the same place. So one of the tools we use to accomplish this is the Ixiasoft DITA CMS. How many of you are familiar with the term DITA? Okay, most people. It stands for Darwin Information Typing Architecture, if you want to know what the acronym's for, but it really means just a way of structuring content that we can organize into a managed system. So our CMS, our management system by the numbers, we've got 6.6 million DITA files in there with an annual increase of 83% last year. So we're building this thing pretty fast. We've migrated 3 million DITA files from other systems into our content management system. Localized content accounts for about 2/3 of what's in that system. So those 40 languages take up a lot of that content space. The projects that we actually have in there, again, 7,780, an over 100% increase since last year. Our user base in the system has increased quite a bit. We have a steady uptick in that since the inception of this system. We're outputting over 200,000 deliverables, and the project builds on a regular basis 1,800, which is a 40% increase since last year. So you probably can't see those numbers. The important thing is that over the past 5 years, we've had about a 10-fold increase in the number of users on our system. We went from just under 200 to just under 2,000 in 5 years. This is a graph of the number of concurrent users, hourly distinct users. This is, again, the last 5 years. You can see that number just keeps going upward. We went from 109 to 366 concurrent. Now this is a snapshot, and they come from different regions around the globe. Again, a snapshot, you can see that Germany overshadows just about everybody else. That's where our corporate headquarters is in Waldorf. And I have a feeling they took this probably at the late afternoon before the West Coast of the US had come online, because I think those numbers would be distributed differently. But that, again, is the peak usage, is when everybody's online in Germany. So it's a big system, lots of users. And this, yikes, information overload here, but this is a block diagram of how our system works, how content moves through the landscape. We've got our, basically, to try and unpack this for you, just look at the gray boxes. We've got our Ixiasoft content CMS there that we do all our content creation and authoring. So that's where it's all created. It's stored in the back end and at the lower left there. The lower right interconnects with that for a translation and localization. And then the next box above that is our build system that we use to output the various things to our various delivery platforms for the customer. So I'll actually come back to this in a bit, but that's just an overview. It's a pretty complicated landscape. So in that, inside that, we also use Acrolinx among other areas. So we've got all these standards, guidelines, best practices in several languages. Actually, German and English are our main authoring languages. So what do we do with all this? At SAP, we've got Acrolinx, which provides The services that we use are the language checking, style, grammar, terminology, and it's inside of our Ixisoft content management system. So that makes us happy campers. Again, here's a block diagram of kind of the client landscape that we have. Now I have to say that this is a little bit outdated. So this is more historical. I mean, earlier we had the future of content. Here's the back to the future. We're kind of going to the past here. So some of these are no longer relevant, but it just gives you an idea of how the system landscape works with that SOAP API, providing the interaction between the rule engine and the terminology for all these different clients that we use, and the natural language processing components. And we actually use our own Crystal reporting software to get our analytics out of these systems, so we can tell what the usage is and how people are using it and what they're doing. So again, kind of going back to the future, as a short history, Acrolinx was, at SAP, we were one of their first customers and created this prototype. First client ever. We had English and German checking. So again, just a little history. And then again, this is the moving forward through history, some of the things that happened with that collaboration between Acrolinx and SAP. We had the Word client in 2001, and then collaborated with the usability lab to create various other clients that we could use the system to check our documentation. So it's been a very successful collaboration over the years between Acrolinx and SAP. And this is just some of the different interfaces that we've seen over the years and the different clients that we've used. Again, some of these are here for historical reasons, but we've got our new branding that came out in 2017. You guys are probably all familiar with it, and you've been looking at it throughout the conference. So why do we have so many clients at SAP? Well, we have different types of documentation and content that we need to check, and they all happen in different systems with different software. So again, we've got all these different things happening: Word, PowerPoint, Oxygen. The ones you'll see in gray here are actually things that have fallen by the wayside, but just to show you that we have got a lot of different clients and that this has been adapted for. So right now, the main system that we use for our help is going to be Oxygen and on the Ixisoft Data CMS. But we also have things like executive reports, training courses, all using different things like outputting to PowerPoint. We have our notes and SAP incidents and internal information that we use for our support folks internally. Wikis, web pages, all this stuff for external facing. Again, a lot of these clients have been deprecated. We're not using them anymore. So different materials also need different rule sets. And this is just a look at, again, Sybase was an acquired company. We've kind of wrapped these all together now. So just going through this quickly, we've got this down to, we used to have 4 different rule sets for DITA. It's now been reduced down to 1, which will be rolling out actually a little later this year. So these are by the numbers for our Acrolinx. Again, we've got a lot of users, a lot of departments, mostly authoring in German and English now. So you can see when we first started out, we did a lot of authoring in German, and now our official company language internationally is English, so there's a lot more English than German done now, even though you saw that most of our users concurrently are happening in Germany, but they're authoring in English. So my particular group, to kind of tell you my personal story, is I work at the Cloud for Customer group here in Palo Alto, just down the road. And this is kind of my typical day. I log on to the Ixisoft Data CMS. I open up my Eclipse environment and take a look at the topics in XML. And I author, do my work, and then when it gets time to check it. At the end of the day, I open up Acrolinx and check my scorecard, and yeah, it looks like I could use some help with some deprecated terms there. So one of the things we can change here is, you'll notice I've got a couple things checked in the term sets here. We've got a variety of things we can choose from. Our SAP standard is, our standard and guidelines. And our particular group abbreviation there is LODCRM. So what we've built is an integration to our terminology database, which lets us input our preferred terms and disallowed synonyms. So it'll go through and check and make sure that I'm using the proper terminology, because we all know how engineering terms tend to leak into content, and we'd rather have more friendly things for our customer-facing documentation. So we can actually set that up, turn that on and off, and that's a iterative process. We're always tweaking that and making sure that those rules are valuable for us and that we've got our terminology updated. Going back to this, our diagram here, this is kind of the flow through the system that I deal with. Is I log on with my authoring tool, an Ixisoft Data CMS, the Eclipse through the remote desktop. Right now it's set up so that everyone who's using this tool is logging in remotely, whether they're in Germany or in the US or anywhere on the globe. So it flows from there into our back-end system, where it's replicated for localization. But then, as I was saying, it goes up to our build system. We're output it to what we call the UACP, or Unified Architecture Content Platform, which basically is our help portal. So if you're looking at any documentation at SAP, you are going to see it through that help portal. And this is pretty much what you're going to see if you log on to help.sap.com. You're going to see a lot of documentation for a lot of products, but because of doing this in our content management system and authoring with our Acrolinx style guide, hopefully you're going to see something that's relatively consistent in tone of voice and appearance. That helps us a lot to give that consistency across products, because a lot of our customers don't just use a given product like Cloud for Customer, they also have a lot of other things that are working together at their companies. So, I mean, at the end of all this, what this is really about for me is that Acrolinx and Ixisoft help me do the best work that I can do, so that we help our customers do what they do best, and they can be best run companies, whether they're building giant mechanisms for oil drilling platforms offshore, or they're running a veterinary business. So that's pretty much all I have for you. Thank you very much.